Hello and welcome to today's Art Matters Artist Talk with the Frederick County Art Association. I'm Kristen Butler, Director of Programs here at the Delaplane. Before I hand things over to our exhibitions manager, Corey Fry, I wanted to mention that if you enjoy our programs, exhibitions, classes, and workshops, consider supporting us by becoming a member. Members get a lot of great benefits, including discounts on classes and workshops. You can find more information on our website. And now, Delaplane Exhibitions Manager, Corey Fry.
Really glad that you all are with us today. We're really excited about our talk. I want to mention a few things before we get started. We have two new exhibitions that open today. The first is the Frederick County Art Association, who we'll be talking with today. And the second are Pit Fired Ceramics by an artist named Chris Corson. Come and check those out. We also have, continuing from last month, we have two exhibitions on our second floor. There are oil paintings by an artist named Ken Bachman, and there are paintings also by an artist named Maremi Androsi. Those are incredible shows. I really encourage you to come check them out. We are open to the public Monday through Saturday. We're open 9 to 5. Sundays, we're open 11 to 5. So come and check those out. If you're at a distance and you can't make it out, we have provided virtual exhibitions for you guys to be able to experience in part some of the work that we're showing at the Delaplane. And so all the links to the virtual exhibitions can be found on our website under the exhibitions and current exhibitions drop down on our webpage. It'll list all the exhibitions that we have going on, and there's direct links to the virtual exhibitions. So check those out. But if you do feel safe and you feel comfortable coming out, we're implementing social distancing, and we do require all of our visitors to wear masks. And so we do appreciate you all coming out and checking out the shows. We've got some great exhibitions going on right now. I want to mention too, really quick, if you're an artist and you're looking for an opportunity to show your work, there's a place on our website that's Artist Opportunities, and you can check that out, and you can submit group or solo show proposals to show at the Delaplane. So I wanted to throw that out there as well. So today we have Frederick County Arts Association with us. We're going to be talking to three of the members of the Frederick County Arts Association. We may refer to it as FCAA as well. If you hear that acronym, as a shortened way to kind of get around the language, that's what we're talking about. So we're really excited to have the Frederick County Arts Association showing. They are over 40-year-old institution here in Frederick and a real catalyst for art community in Frederick. And so our first guest from FCAA is the founder and president, Rena Larkin. And I'm going to pull up a presentation of the three artists' work here, and they're going to share with us about the work that they have in the exhibition, but also talk more generally. Rena's going to talk more generally about FCAA and how you can get involved and what all of that entails. So Rena, thank you so much for all the work you're doing. Thank you so much for the collaboration and the collaborative process in showing this exhibition that we have opened up. You've been a great pleasure to work with, and thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, Corey, and thank you, Kristen, for hosting this webinar. It's wonderful to be affiliated with the Delaplane for as many years as we have. My name is Rena Larkin. I am the founder and the current president of the Frederick County Art Association, better known as the FCAA. Just to give a little information about where we started, this is also a piece that I'm currently showing in the exhibition that is up right now. Just to give a little history, both Joyce Kewen and I, who started the association back in 1979, we were the co-owners of the Frederick Art Academy in Chabreau. It was an art school here in Frederick for the local people that were interested in learning about art. So Joyce and I got together one day and we decided there needed to be a place for the local artists to be able to collaborate and get together and actually have places to show their work, along with a lot of people that were just interested in art or who were learning about art. So that's where we got together and we started the association back in 1979. We are now in our 40th year. The association has been extremely active for all 40 years. We currently have 102 members. The show that is up and running right now has at least 70 pieces from our members that are currently involved with the organization. And I really appreciate and thank everyone who took part in being able to participate in the show that is going to be running through the full month of January. So another part of our history is the fact that a lot of people don't realize, but one of our first members that was one of the original members was Meredith Springer. Meredith Springer was one of the originators also of the fact that he had a dream. He had a dream of an art center in Frederick County. So he got together and he worked with the leaders in Frederick and a lot of the politicians in Frederick at the time, and actually was able to get together to find the building of the mill and actually have it reconstructed. And I believe that your center began in 1986, if I'm correct in that. So that's part of the history, is the fact that the Art Association has collaborated with the Delaplane right from the beginning, even before it got started. So it's something where we really welcome the collaboration and the participation of the two organizations all of these years. I mean, it's been an asset to us. And really, we are very invested in keeping the Delaplane as active, and we use the Delaplane for our meetings. We use the Delaplane for our board meetings. So it's been a wonderful connection that we've had all of these years. The other thing that we offer is that we do sponsor what's called the Betty Awards for the youth of Frederick County. And we offer a $1,000 scholarship every year. So if anyone is interested in looking into, if you have young people or anyone in the Frederick County Public Schools that's interested in the Betty Awards, please be sure to check out the site that's going to be in your chat as well. I also wanted to share with you, I'm going to share my screen. This is our site. This is, if everyone can see it, this is our current website that everyone has access to, where you can actually log in and create a profile. Within our site, it's also, you have the opportunity, if you are an artist, to be able to post your artwork along with your profile, so that when people go in to look at the directory of artists, they get to see your artwork as well, or be able to be connected with your website. So if you're interested in just even going in to check out art, because it does have our history and it does have all the members that are currently involved in the organization. So at this time, I'd like to say Happy New Year. And again, thank you to the Delaplane for all of their wonderful support and collaboration with the Frederick County Art Association. And here's to another 40 years.
Thank you so much, Rena. I want to echo something that you said. Just thank you to everyone that participated in the exhibition. There's such great work showing right now, and we know that, especially in our current time, like in our circumstances, it can be really tricky to figure out how to show your work and how to participate. And so thank you to everybody who's shown. And thank you so much, Rena, for giving us a little bit of history as well. It's super interesting hearing about our collaborative efforts over the years. And so I really appreciate that. The next artist that's going to be sharing with us is Esperanza Alzona. And Esperanza is a sculptor. She has two pieces, two cast iron pieces in the exhibition. She's going to be talking to us about those specifically, but also about her practice and really whatever else she wants to share. Esperanza, I really appreciate the pieces that you have in the show. They're really thought-provoking and really just lovely objects. And so really have enjoyed checking those out. Thanks so much for being with us.
Okay, thank you. I'm really grateful for this opportunity to exhibit my work at the Delaplane. I have been an artist all of my life, although I have come to sculpture fairly recently in the past few years. I danced professionally for decades before settling into teaching here in Frederick. So most people do know me as a dancer and a choreographer. And when the dancing stopped, I began doing more work in arts management and arts administration. As a visual artist, I've done work in graphic design and back in the day, a bit of film photography. My current day job is I'm the operations manager for Shepherd University's School of Music. And that is actually where I started taking courses in sculpture a few years ago. And that is where I do a lot of my work in sculpture is, working in there over at Shepherd, and a bit at home. I have, as Corey mentioned, 2 sculptures in cast iron in this show at the Delaplane, and they reflect my current body of work that I call being human. And that is, my work in sculpture focuses on representations of concepts and qualities of humanness, the characterization of certain universal emotions, sensations, thought processes, the embodiment of self-identity, and manifestations of spirituality. And so having a background as a professional dancer, a choreographer, and I'm also a competitive athlete. I'm a competitive fencer, just because I have a lot of spare time. I am used to employing the language of the human body as a means of creative expression. So my inclination in sculpture is to use aspects and parts of the human anatomy to convey ideas in physical form. As I explore and express in sculpture various facets, abstractions, and iterations centering around the mind-body connection and the human experience, I really wish for viewers to find resonance and relevance of being human. So I work primarily in metal because for me, it renders a certain weight and material presence that I find particularly engaging. Again, it's that physicality and three-dimensional visual aspect that comes from my having been a dancer that attracts me to this particular medium. So this first work here is Opposing Views. This work was in the Washington Sculptors Group juried exhibit Sculpture Now 2019. It is, as you can see, one head looking intently and resolutely in 2 completely opposite directions. It represents inner conflict and tension. Our head, which is the governing mechanism of how an individual body thinks and physically functions, is trying to cope with opposing views, this dichotomy within itself. I used only the eyes and the nose of the face. The nose points in the direction being taken, and the eyes view the path. The eyes are outgrowths of the brain, and they communicate our thoughts even without speaking. So this head has no mouth or ears because it's about what's going on inside one's head. Also, I tried to make the piece androgynous, so there's no hair. Although a lot of people see it as decidedly masculine, it was intended to be neither male nor female. And while I created this piece 2 years ago, I chose to put this piece in this current exhibit because not only do I think it is a universal feeling that many people can relate to, but it also in a way speaks to where our country is politically with seemingly polar opposite views. The other piece, Rise Up, is my most recent work. And it's, as you can see, it's a battered fist that represents empowerment, rising up from a pockmarked landscape that is adversity. The fist is a figure of strength with an inner life force depicted in red like blood. The fist prevails, although obviously battered and scarred like the base of slag from which it arises. I see this as a message of hope and transcendence, that we can draw up the life force from within ourselves to triumph over our obstacles, problems, and misfortunes. As I was working on this sculpture, I was asked by a student if I was doing a piece on Black Lives Matter. And while that was not my intention was not about interpreting a political statement, more of a personal statement. One can see how this can be construed as such. Regardless, if the work evokes feelings and embraces some meaning in the viewer, then I think it has been effective. Again, these works are in cast metal because of the materiality. I don't think that these concepts would have rendered as well in any other material such as plaster or wood. You know, there's a strength and a power in the metal. And so while none of these pieces were really intended to be a political statement, I think they both in some way address the times we live in.
That's so great, Esperanza. Thank you so much. It's really interesting. Just having seen the works in person, it's really interesting hearing you talk about them. And I'm always really interested in the materiality and how it conveys particular messages. And so it's really great to hear how thoughtful you've been in the materiality and in the directions you're heading. So thank you so much. Our next artist is Chris Madden. Chris is he works in a variety of materials. He's also one of our instructors here at the Delaplane Art Center. He's taught classes from drawing to painting to caricature, various classes, and he's one of our valued instructors. And so, Chris, thanks so much for being here. I'll bring up your work. Chris has 4 works in the show, but I have 3 of them represented here on the slide. And Chris, thanks so much.
Well, thank you, Corey, and thanks to Kristen as well and all of the Delaplane, a fine organization. I really enjoy teaching there and working with people in the community. So my works here are representative of things that I actually put together or painted in 2020, which for all the pitfalls and horrifying events of the year, I found when I was compiling a list of the works that I had done, actually I was quite prolific this year. I guess it's an idea of working in isolation, and I was able to be productive. And so as a painter, it's just been a pleasure for me to explore the medium and to grow as a painter. I spent 35 years engraving the money you hold in your wallets, the paper money. I was the lead engraver for the Bureau engraving 35 years. So that type of work, while rewarding as a career, wasn't as creative an outlet as I always longed for. So I painted all along during those years, and upon retirement, built a studio out in West Virginia, where I'm at right now, and started painting in earnest with an idea of just developing myself as a painter. I really was happy with the idea that I could spend the rest of my life just learning how to paint, and there's still a lot of validity to that. So these works here, they all started with alla prima subjects. Alla prima is where you paint in one setting. And to that end, up until COVID kind of squashed it, I was hosting regularly on Sundays at the Griffin Arts Center an open drawing and painting session for 3 hours. So we would hire a model, and for the 3 hours, we would, basically I called it being at the gym for artists. We were working out our art muscles. And for that 3 hours in alla prima painting, you have to work fairly quickly with a bravura type of brush work, which I like anyway, and develop things. And normally I never take my 3-hour studies into something of a more finished state. I don't have the model in front of me usually, and it's just something where the alla prima has always been satisfactory for me. But in these pieces, I had a context, I had a narrative. And actually the narrative and context was a combination of thinking about it before I had the model pose, and also once I did the alla prima study, what it suggested to me that I could take into the studio to develop. So these pieces here, the one on the far right on my side here is Paint Your Wagon, and a good model that we hire regularly decided to channel Lee Marvin in the old movie Paint Your Wagon, and came dressed as such. And so I had gotten off to a really good start with the alla prima study, and decided that this was something I could really take into the studio and bring some methods and techniques that I've been learning from the old masters studying at the National Gallery of Art, again on hiatus because of the COVID. But studying these masters has given me a real insight to technique. It's just fascinating to just be at the hand and these masters and stand on their shoulders, and see how they did things. So I've been able to pick up some techniques. I wanted to explore those in my own personal art. So I felt like this was a good vehicle for that. The one in the middle, the Penitent Man, again, a model that I hire on a regular basis, great gentleman. he brought in his old taxidermy monkey, which is a favorite of mine anyway. And he's a good sport. He'll do basically whatever I ask him to do. And so this to me set up one of those old prophets in the desert scenarios where, he's being tempted by the Satan, in this case represented by the monkey, and he's got these decisions to make, and he's kind of reflecting upon a life, whether it's well lived or not. And this type of context and narrative I find really very appealing, and something where I want to set up a dialogue for the viewer when they look at my art to not just look at it objectively, but kind of have a dialogue psychologically with it. That's kind of my aim with a lot of my art that gets more finished. The one on the left is in the court of the Totem Queen. And again, a la prima model, she is a very spiritual person and believes in spirit animals and totemic figures. And so the figures of the cat, the beaver, and the iguana are kind of strange subjects to have, but they represent something more than themselves. And that's what I like about art, is when it gets beyond itself. So all of these things are just pieces that I've enjoyed doing, and I hope people come to the gallery and check it out this month, along with everyone else's work. And again, I appreciate the Delaplane for hosting it and allowing me to teach there. And I'll be happy to take any questions at the conclusion of the presentation. Thanks, Corey.
Thanks so much, Chris. Really appreciate that. The thing that I love about, all art, of course, it's not ideal in any way to see just the digital image of it, but seeing these pieces in person for all of you is so informative. Chris, in particular with your work, there's a clear love of materiality just with the thickness of the paint, the brush work that's evident.
Right. Well, there's a muscularity to the brush work, and I've always admired artists like a Lucian Freud, where perhaps the subject matter isn't classically beautiful, but the way the material was put down, that is where I really am at. I love that stuff.
Yeah, that's so great. I love the sculptural quality of it almost in that way. But I did want to ask you guys, just as you talked, there's a clear love for the materiality. And Chris, you talked even about spending your life with paint in a particular way. And I want to pose this to you and with Esperanza as well. As you continue to put in studio time, you're working with this material over and over and over again. There has to be something that holds your attention, something that surprises you over and over again. And I wonder if either of you, or Rena, you as well, in your artistic practice, what brings you back again and again to the mediums that you're working in?
You're talking about the materials or the conceptual ideas, or kind of both together?
Anything really. What continues to bring you back over and over again? Maybe specifically to painting, but even more broadly, like art in general.
Well, for me, it's a constant state of discovery. I'll never become the artist I want to be. I'm always trying to get there. I never really actually want to get there. I want to always be challenged by it. If it was too easy, I would get bored by it and do something else.
Yeah, I'm not sure whether there is, but living in the present moment. The interesting thing about materiality, well, sometimes your work actually informs your concepts and your ideas. It can work from the other way. So interesting story about that fist. That actually did not, so I'll share this with you. That actually did not turn out the way it was supposed to be. That was not what I had intended. And it was basically, I'll confess, a failed casting. Because people look at that and they're like, how did you get that texture? I mean, it's so interesting. It was a casting that actually didn't work, and I think that there had been wax that both of these pieces were done in a lost wax process, and that particular piece had wax that remained in the ceramic shell, and when we poured the iron, the whole thing was just like spewing flames, and I'm going like, oh, what's going on? And then when I broke out the shell, it was all weird. And in a way, that's actually now the whole concept behind it. It wasn't actually what I had intended originally for that fist. I mean, I was doing this fist, but it ended up being that way. And my salvaging that piece ended up being what it was about. That idea of, you know, we can rise up from our failures, or we can make something out of, you know, something that went wrong, or, you know, out of adversity, out of a problem and an issue, you can still prevail, you can still arise, you can still overcome this and create a thing of beauty.
And how often do
So-
we see that these happy accidents lead to new territory, new directions for yourself as an artist?
Yeah, yeah. So in a way, that actual thing ended up, I mean, the whole thing was fraught with issues. I had started creating the figure in wax back in the spring, and we were going to do an iron pour around the end of April, and then everything shut down. I mean, as an iron pour is a huge process. You've got a whole team. I mean, it's a big deal, and you require a lot of people, and a lot of times, you know, we invite other artists to come in and pour their metal and seek out. So that thing basically sat for months before it was actually poured. And then there was disaster, and you never know what can happen. I mean, there's failures all along the way. It's a long process. It's a hard process. You know, you create it in wax, and then you do with a ceramic shell, and then you have to cut it off, and then you have melt it out, and you know, and then you know, anything could happen all along the way. So it's a long process that, you know, when people look at things, it's just like, oh, well, that looks so simple, you know. And there's a lot involved in it, a lot of steps and everything. But yeah, basically that particular piece kind of, you know, didn't end up what I started out thinking it would, but I think it's actually better. So
Yeah.
that's the backstory. Yeah.
No, sorry, Rena, were you going to say something?
I was just going to
Yeah.
say, for me, it was, you know, I've pretty much, portraiture has always been my love of people. And it's ever since I was a teenager. Well, as a teenager, it was my escape to a lot of dysfunctional family issues and being able to get out a lot of feelings. So it's always been something that I've always gone to in times of stress or trauma. And being a counselor and coach, career coach for the unemployed right now, I'm definitely very involved in people's issues and humanity and the struggles that people have. So that's why portraiture is really something that's very important to me to be able to express, because when people are struggling, it's important to be able to capture, you know, that feeling and the sense of humanity to me. So that's, you know, I've been out of art for many, many years due to business issues and things. So I've just gotten recently back into it. I've never really studied professionally. I've always studied with artists, starting with Joyce Kuhn. I've studied with Mary Pfister and some other local artists that have helped me along the way to develop my talent. So, you know, for me, it's important, especially like even with the organization, to involve new beginners or people just interested in the arts, you know, that are non-professional, because I'm very invested in that, to have people just be able to feel that, you know, no matter what stage they are or what range they are in art, that they're welcome, that they're definitely welcome to this organization, just to be able to share and learn.
No, that's so good. That brings to mind, like, I think conversations about artistic process are so important because it does level the playing field, right? Like, you can think of the word even artist, and you're thinking about an artist that's hanging in a gallery or a museum somewhere, but really the artist was invested in the exact same process that you and I and all of us are invested in. They're invested in discovery and curiosity and materiality. And these things level the playing field as far as like, what are you interested in? How can you engage in that process? And that's the thing, that your engagement and your dedication to the medium is what makes you an artist, not the fact that you make it, you know, to the gallery or to the museum level.
Hey, Corey.
Yes.
So to that point, you know, the thing is with art, it's and not to sound like a big purist or anything, but you know, I don't think we make art for objective reasons, for money. I mean, that's kind of the elephant in the room, if you will, about exhibiting. As much as I appreciate exhibiting to share my work, the weirdest part is always putting a price tag on something, because that's not what I did it for. It's almost like an artifact of the process that I went through for myself as an artist, and the art that comes out of it is just this artifact. And then how do you put a price on that? I always feel very strange about that. I think most of us make art because that's just who we are.
Right.
Yeah, and right, it's not about we're not in it for the money, but certainly not. But no, I like to share my art. That's why I do also appreciate that when my art gets shown. And as Corey says, you know, and particularly being a 3D artist, it's you can't experience it on the internet. You can't experience it in 2D. You need to be there, and particularly 3D art, because you know it's three-dimensional. But even for, you know, for painting or whatever, you can't fully appreciate the presence of just actually being there, you know, and you know, the size of it, the scope and the proximity. You need that presence. So I think it's really great that the Delaplane is open and that people can actually go to see it. There have been so many shows during the pandemic that, you know, you could only experience online. So so we're, you know, I feel fortunate that we do have this opportunity and that people can go, and I hope that they do see it in person, because the online experience is just not the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have a question specifically about, you know, one of the real interesting things for me, and especially with this exhibition with the FCAA, is there's a real interest for me historically of the collaborative effort between the FCAA and the Delaplane. There's a communal element to the FCAA in general. It's like, how can artists who speak the same language gather together and talk about these things and rub shoulders and, you know, nerd out about our materials and all that stuff that's so important. So I wondered if any of you could talk about, like, I know, here's the tricky thing, right? We're in the middle of COVID, and so it's restricted us being able to gather together, and we're having to relearn our identity even as a community. But I wonder if you could speak to, any of you could speak to the importance of what it means to not just be an artist, not just, you know, be the artist locked away somewhere, but the artist on a communal level, and what it means to be around other artists.
I'll start with that, mainly because of, like you're saying, we have had to reinvent the wheel for the past year like no other, as far as being able, when you opened up your outside venue of the porch, we took advantage of that. We've taken advantage of things like this with Zoom and webinars. So including, you know, just getting our site up and running so that it could be something where people could do things online more. So yes, it has really been an extreme challenge for the organization for the past year, but you know, we're hanging in and we're doing what's necessary to make sure that we maintain, you know, the status quo and to, you know, not miss a beat. We haven't missed a meeting. We haven't missed, this show. So we're working very hard to make sure that, we are able to support and represent not only the Delaplane, but our members as much as possible.
Yeah.
Because that's the one thing that, after 40 years, the one thing we don't want is to see things go by the wayside. So we are, although challenging, we're doing whatever it takes to support and help the members and the local artists and the local people just interested in arts. So thank you.
What Corey said, I've only been a member of the Frederick County Art Association for a couple of years. And I participated last year in the exhibit as well. And I appreciate the opportunity, not just to exhibit, but I have enjoyed being a member of the Frederick County Art Association just because there is that sense of camaraderie of the arts world of our local community here in Frederick. And I love just helping out, volunteering to help hang the show. I really enjoy that, working with the other artists, helping them and hang their work. I just love participating in that, just being with them, not just seeing my work in the show, but seeing everybody's work and that sense of community we have when we come down there and hang other people's work too. It's just that whole sense of community that's really important. And, we really appreciate the Delaplane for this fantastic venue and being able to exhibit our work and the partnership that we have with them.
Corey, what I'd like to say is, first of all, we owe a big debt of thanks to Rena for all her dedication and hard work over the years. She's really been the little engine that could to keep this organization as strong as it is. So we definitely appreciate her efforts. The thing with art, whether it's music, dance, sculpture, photography, whatever the discipline is, you learn from other people. When I teach classes, I tell the students that they learn as much from each other as anything I could share with them. So it's a thing where, I read Thomas Merton, No Man is an Island. And that philosophical aspect of how that comes and influences your art is a big factor as well. But Merton, was basically saying, well, as much as we have a fantasy, I guess, of being this artist, living alone, working alone, the stereotype of that, we need each other. We're herd animals and we cannot live in isolation. And it's a voyage of discovery. And I found that out in my art. And I thoroughly enjoy meeting other artists and working with them and exhibiting with them. The Delaplane is a wonderful place to do that.
Yeah, thank you all so much for your thoughts on that. I just want to open it up. Is there anything else that you guys would want to say, would want to share? Maybe Rena, you can talk to us a little bit too, just quickly about how, if somebody's interested in joining FCA, how should they go about doing that and what do they need to do?
Absolutely. Yep. Well, the link is posted on the chat. So if anyone is interested, and I did share the way that the site does look. So it's a matter of, if you want to go in, and if you just go into the login and you can create a profile. Like I said, you can also post your artwork on there as well. And the beauty of the new website is the fact that you can join us online with paying for your membership with a credit card or a debit card online now, as opposed to 40 years of writing a check. So we have gone into the 21st century now. And again, the beauty of having your profile in our site as well, so that, if, once you join the membership, you can go in and see other members, site and information about if they want to share their websites, so it's a wonderful opportunity to be able to have, your information out there and just be able to receive, emails and things from the organization personally.
Yeah, that's great. Esperanza, Chris, anything you guys wanted to share before we head out?
Well, thank you for the opportunity today.
Yes, thank you very much.
Absolutely. This was wonderful, and we really appreciate it, and the show as well. So I hope people are able to get out to see the show and see the eclectic, wonderful variety of art that is showing there for everyone to be able to see what our members actually are all about.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you to all you guys, and thank you to all the artists who are showing in the exhibition. Uh, Again, come on out to the Delaplane, check things out. We have a new set of classes coming up for the spring even, so check out our classes that we're offering too. Figure out how you can get involved. And Chris, Esperanza, Rena, thank you guys so much for your time and all that you're doing. We're really excited about having your work at the Delaplane, so thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. Happy New Year.
You too.
Thank you everyone for participating in our discussion today, and to our artists and to all members of the Frederick County Art Association. While you're on our channel, check out our other videos, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to get notifications about other videos from the Delaplane. Thanks again for watching.